Welcome to the Genealogy Gems podcast, providing quick and innovative ways to make the absolute most out of your research time and creative ideas for sharing and displaying your family history. I'm your host, Lisa Louise Cook. Hello and welcome to Genealogy Gems podcast episode number 85. We're here to talk about genealogy, and there is certainly a lot to talk about. Seems like everybody is talking about the TV series Who Do You Think You Are, which airs on NBC here in the U.S. on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Well, it looks like the show is holding its own in the ratings, which means that we could very likely see a season 2. And wouldn't that be nice? But while that hasn't been announced yet, a schedule change was announced this last week for the remaining episodes of season 1. The Who Do You Think You Are schedule has been extended by 1 week. So what they've done is they've moved the season finale back. It was previously scheduled for the 24th of April. It's now going to be on the 30th. So here's the rundown. April 2nd will be the Brooke Shields episode. April 9th, they're going to rerun Sarah Jessica Parker's episode. That'll be a repeat. On the 16th, there won't be an episode. And on April 23rd, 2010, they'll have the Susan Sarandon episode, and then they'll finish up season 1 with Spike Lee on April 30th. If you're enjoying the show and you'd like to know more about it, you might want to consider becoming a Genealogy Gems premium member. Membership is just $29.95 for an entire year, and it gives you access to exclusive podcast episodes and videos. And on the newest premium episode, number 43, which is available in the membership area through June 30th, we feature part 2 of Lisa Kudrow and Dan Bukatinsky, co-producers of Who Do You Think You Are. They're answering questions about the making of the TV series. It's really fun, not only to hear the behind-the-scenes stuff, but just also to hear their passion for the show. It's very contagious. And also in that episode, we talk about visual genealogy and some incredible technology that is evolving and being used in ways that really bring the study and understanding of history to a whole new level. Very interesting stuff. That's on premium episode number 43. We just published that this week. So if you've been on the fence about premium membership, I got to tell you, there's no better time to do it than right now. Oh, and I just published new and improved versions of the Google Earth videos that are also included in premium membership. There's lots of videos there for you. We do Google Earth for genealogy. We've added some great new graphics and updated some of the video to reflect some of the new changes that Google has made recently to Google Earth. So those are all up to date. And speaking of genealogy around the globe, there are some new records available online for those of you with British ancestors. You can now search and download Chelsea pensioners' service records from 1883 to 1900 at findmypast.co.uk. Each individual soldier's record is at least 4 pages long and full of fascinating details that are invaluable to family and military historians. As well as being some of the most detailed records available to family historians, the records include servicemen born in the UK and throughout the world, including many soldiers that were born in India and the Caribbean. So go to findmypast.co.uk to find the Chelsea Pensioner Service records, or I will have a link directly to that page for those records in the show notes. And those records are available through Find My Past's ongoing partnership with the National Archives UK. And over at the National Archives in the UK, they've put some new guides to the archives online. These are quick animated video guides about the records that they have and how to use the indexes and their catalog and how to find resources in other archives and ideas for sharing your research. They're really well done and super simple to follow. If you have research that leads you to the National Archives in the UK, I think it would be a good investment of time to watch some of these quick videos so that you can more easily find what you're looking for. I saw at least a dozen videos ranging from the documents they hold to preparing to research in the archives to how to order documents and a whole lot more. So that's the nationalarchives.gov.uk. And I'll have the link directly to those quick animated guides, again, in the show notes. Now, while the vast majority of documents are still only available at the National Archives, they are putting more and more documents online. You can now download the First World War medal cards for just £2 from their Documents Online service. And it's completely free to search. You only pay to download and to view the records. As well as the medal cards, you will find millions of wills, service records, and registers that are online and downloadable. They've even digitized some records from the Royal Hospital in Chelsea, which could help you with that search for Chelsea pensioners. So that's something to keep in mind. And finally, I got some great news from Lulu.com that publishes my Genealogy Gems Ultimate Research Strategies book. I got an email from them saying that thanks to all of you, the book is very, very popular on their website, and they have selected it to be one of the first ones they reformat, I guess, for the new iPad. Now, the iPad is kind of like it looks like an overgrown iPod, don't you think? Have you taken a look at it yet? It's going on sale this month in April of 2010, and I think it's going to be the real contender to the Kindle, being able to read your books in digital format in one unit. And I'm very pleased to say that Genealogy Gems Ultimate Research Strategies is going digital, I guess. Now, we've always had the digital download at Lulu.com, but it is now in the process of being reformatted as an ebook that will be in the iBookstore. So that's going to take a while. I think the iTunes store is going to be inundated from all the different publishers that are kind of converting their materials and their books. But it is coming. It's probably going to be, let's see here, this is April, probably in June, I'm guessing. And so when I get the word that the book is in the iBookstore, I will let you know, and it'll be out there for any of you who decide to really go high tech and get the new iPad. And if you do, send me an email. Let me know what you think of the iPad. Gosh, I've been looking at it. I'm not ready to pre-order. I can't figure out yet if it's really going to be worthwhile, but it does look like it has some very interesting features to it, and it's bigger. So maybe I won't even have to wear my reading glasses to read it. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, and also, speaking of Lulu.com, I want to mention to you that we just published the next archived premium episode bundle. These are past premium podcast episodes that have gone into the archives, and we have repackaged them into a bundle of 10 episodes. So now you can we just released episodes 21 through 30. 10 episodes, almost 6 full hours of content that you can listen to. These are the audio podcasts and all of the show notes in PDF format. So for one low price, you get the whole kit and caboodle all at one time. And you can download that from Lulu.com. Just search for Genealogy Gems in the search box, and I will have a link directly to the Genealogy Gems store at Lulu. We have our own little store area in a section of Lulu.com, and that includes the bundle as well as all of the other past episodes prior to number 21, as well as, of course, the book. All right, well, that's it from me, so let's hear from you, and we're going to do that at the mailbox. Okay, I've got a wide range of emails and posts and communications from all of you out there, so let's just jump right in here. Let's see, I have a question from Susan Moss. Hey, Lisa, I was just listening to episode number 84 when I tried to type a note and realized that you can't do anything else on the iPhone while you are listening without cutting your show off. Do you think there's a way to keep it running in the background while doing other things like notes? Another app I have does that. And she sent that from her iPhone. Well, yes, indeed, Susan, there is a way to do that. If you've downloaded the Genealogy Gems podcast app to your iPhone, you can go in there and you can click a particular episode and listen to it. If you look up in the corner, you'll see a little button. You just click the one that says Extras. And you will find that one of the buttons on the Extras page is for playing the podcast in the background. And it's the last option on the list. So that way, yes, you can listen and you can keep doing all those other multitasking things that you do on the iPhone. So hope that helps. Thank you for writing. And here's an email from Sue Edminster. She says, Lisa, last night we watched Lisa Kudrow's story and we were so touched by it. Then today I was listening to the Premium podcast and heard your interview with her. Very enjoyable. And seeing her story has encouraged me to continue my search on my great-grandfather Robert Shane, who came to the States from Ireland, probably during the potato famine. He or his family may have a compelling story to tell, and you and Lisa have given me the impetus to keep on searching. Thanks for all your podcasts. Yours are my favorites. Oh, thank you very much. Gosh, thank you, Sue. I appreciate that. And Michelle Colby, she wrote to us, I think we featured her email, in the last episode? She wrote in again. She says, I just updated my blog at colbegenealogy.blogspot.com. That's Kolbe, genealogy.blogspot.com. And it features you. Me? Okay, Michelle. She says, check it out. You have helped me break through a brick wall. I had made some recommendations on the Premium podcast about how to get more effective results for newspaper searches, and that's what she was doing. She was looking for a newspaper article that somehow gave her more information on a shooting that had happened. One of her ancestors had been shot, and she found it. And then I got this email, and she wrote in the blog post that she didn't have access. She had used one of the websites I told her about, but the website was a paid subscription website. So she found it. She knew it was there, and she knew now which paper it was in and how to get a hold of it. And she had ordered a copy of the microfilm from an archive, requesting that particular newspaper, and she'd found that they had it on microfilm, but it was going to take like a month to get it. So after I read her blog post that she told me about, saying that she was so excited to have found this, I went ahead and I went on that website, found the article that she was talking about, downloaded it, and I sent her a copy of it so that she could see it right away. I mean, it's so hard to wait, is it not? When you found something like that? Well, Michelle wrote back and she says, thank you, thank you, thank you. One of the ones in big capital letters. I'm sitting here with tears streaming down my cheeks. To actually see this article after all those years of searching is almost too much to take. I know only a fellow genealogist such as yourself can understand this feeling. This article is going right up on my blog. You are a dear person. Well, Michelle, you are very welcome. It was actually thrilling for me to find it and to know that you were going to be that excited and get it to you. That's great. And Michelle followed up with me again because she said, everybody in her family had had a version of the story of this shooting that had happened. And in fact, it's an amazing story because this ancestor of hers, somebody had come in his store, I think it was, two guys, and threatened him, and he was going to yell out for help, and they shot, and the bullet literally went through his cheek, across the inside of his mouth, and out the other side. Didn't hit his tongue, didn't hit his teeth, nothing. Absolutely a miracle. But anyway, I guess posting this newly found article has raised all kinds of speculation and conversation and, chatter going on in the Colby clan because there are older relatives that think that maybe there was another shooting and had different dates in mind and all kinds of things going on. Interesting how these stories surface and how they kind of shake out when you find data like that. She followed up and she wrote me and said, I wanted to forward this to you to let you see that this whole shooting article has started a buzz with the Colby family. There are emails literally flying all over the country. We are connecting, we are exchanging, we are having fun. Now, this is what genealogy is really all about. That is so cool. It's really true. And what's neat about it is that maybe there was a second shooting. I mean, who knows? But just the fact that this article has now surfaced has generated a lot of renewed interest in her family. And I'm so glad you guys are having a good time. Congratulations. And finally, from Renee Walker, she says, I was working on organizing my files better under your system on the C drive. When I got to photos, I came up with a problem. My mother's parents divorced when she was 5. I think she went to live with her maternal grandparents until she was about 13. By then, both of her parents had remarried and she went back to live with her mother and her stepfather. Do you have any suggestions on how to organize the pictures under that circumstance? Any help would be appreciated. Love your podcast and all that you do to help us out here. Thanks, Renee. Well, Renee, yeah, The whole new scenario in the last couple of generations of divorces and remarriages and additional children and that kids, sometimes move from home to home kind of a thing. It really does complicate it, doesn't it? I agree. And just remember that some of the guidelines that I gave in the organizational article that I wrote for Family Tree Magazine and the companion video that goes along with that, those are guidelines. And I think when you get into a situation where a child isn't in one home for their entire childhood, it may warrant creating a folder just for that individual. So let's say that she's with the parents until the divorce. So let's say that all of her photographs are in the folder under her father, who's the head of the household. But at that point, then there becomes some sketchiness. You may want to go ahead and emancipate her, if you will. Create your own folder for her and work with her as an individual entity or an individual head of household, if you will. Even though she's not an adult yet and she's not yet married by that time, you've got photos for that time frame and they don't fit neatly under any particular pair of parents. So you may just want to have her individual folder under that surname, whatever the surname she was at that time, which is her maiden surname. She was not yet married, but then just have her as a head of household for her own folder and put photographs there that belong to her. That's probably the simplest way to go. It's not as neat and tidy, but then again, I'm certainly, you look at my family in the last couple of generations, neat and tidy isn't part of the deal. There are no neat and tidy family units the way there were, several generations back. Certainly, families have gone through a lot of different gyrations than they did, a century ago even. So, very good question. Good question. We just kind of have to, I guess, keep flexible with our basic premise for the organizational technique that we use. And if you decide to go the way of creating her own folder, you just want to be consistent for anybody else who falls into that same situation, so that the bottom line is that you have consistency in the way that you are creating your folders for your organization. Great questions. Well, coming up in this episode, I've got a couple of great interviews for you that I'm very excited about. And the first one, we're going to be talking with Susanna de Groot. She is an expert in Dutch research, and that's really an area of research we haven't covered here on the show. I was excited to talk to her, and in particular because she and I will be meeting up in May at the Ontario Genealogical Society Conference up in Toronto in May. My first time going, and I'm looking forward to it, and you will have a chance to meet Susanna in just a moment. But first, I want to follow up on that idea of organization. We were talking about organizing your photographs on your computer's hard drive. But there's a much bigger question, isn't there, to organization, and that is organizing all of the data that you've been collecting. You work really hard for it to get all that information together and to find the sources that back it up. But if you can't put your hands on that data quickly and easily and be able to share it with other people, it's kind of like the tree that falls in the forest. Does your data really exist if you can't put your hands on it? Well, the best way to be able to collect your data in one place that is retrievable, that is safe and secure, is RootsMagic. RootsMagic 4 is the newest version of the genealogy database put out by the folks at RootsMagic, who so kindly sponsor this podcast. RootsMagic 4 is the latest version of the award-winning software put together by RootsMagic. It's developed by folks who are as passionate about genealogy as you are. Bruce Busby and his team constantly solicit input and have dialogue with their customers to learn more about what it is that you need, what you struggle with, and the ways in which you want to have the ability to output that data that you're working so hard to collect. Head over to rootsmagic.com. Click on the Essentials. You can download RootsMagic Essentials for free. Give it a test drive. If you haven't started using a database yet, or if you use another database, but it just doesn't feel like it's meeting your needs, this is the way to try out RootsMagic, see the functionality, see the easy-to-use user interface, and try it for yourself. I guarantee you're going to love it. I do. I've been using it, and it was very hard to make that transition in my head from my old database that I must have gotten 10 years ago and finally transitioning over to RootsMagic. All I could think was, I don't know why I waited so long. What a difference it makes. Check it out. It's rootsmagic.com. You can download the free essentials or just go for Roots Magic 4. You're going to love it. And you're finally going to be able to say, my data is safe and organized. Susanna DeGroot, PLCGS, is the owner of Windmill Genealogy Services. She's a professional genealogist and lecturer specializing in Ontario and the Netherlands. She's a graduate instructor and administrative coordinator for the National Institute for Genealogical Studies. She's written several genealogical articles and is the co-author of the book Finding Your Dutch Ancestors, published by Heritage Publications. Susanna is going to be an instructor at the upcoming Ontario Genealogical Society conference being held in Toronto, Canada, in May of 2010. And I invited her to the show to talk a bit not only about her participation in the conference and what you might find if you get an opportunity to head up to Toronto for that event, but also to give us some solid tips on how to get started with Dutch research.
Well, I have on the phone with me today Susanna DeGroot of Windmill Genealogy Services. Welcome to the show, Susanna.
Thank you, Lisa. Nice to be here today.
Wonderful. And I'm going to call you Sue. You go by Sue, right?
That's correct.
And Sue, I know in talking with the folks at the Ontario Genealogical Society that you will be there as well as I will. And it sounds like you have a really interesting area of expertise in the area of Dutch research, which is something we really haven't spent a lot of time doing on the show. Will you be teaching classes there at the OGS conference coming up in May of 2010 on Dutch research or on other topics?
Actually, I'm doing 2 lectures on Dutch research. We're presenting a Dutch ancestry stream on the Saturday, May 16th. And I'm giving 2 presentations. One is Going Dutch, Effective Searching for North Americans. And the other one is Traversing Dutch Genealogical Records, Sources to Trace Our Ancestors. I'm also giving a 3rd presentation on the Sunday, May the 17th, called Ships Ahoy, Great Lakes Genealogical Research. So that one's pretty interesting, and I think a lot of people are going to enjoy that one as well.
I don't have any Dutch ancestors, but I don't hear a lot about Dutch ancestry, although I know many people who do have Dutch ancestry. My guess is it's really a boon for somebody who wants to do that kind of research to find an expert like you or classes such as yours at a conference, because that's really a chance to pick your brains and find out how to go about doing this. Tell us a little bit before we talk about Dutch ancestry and the research that you do. What's an overview of your background? I assume you may have some Dutch ancestry?
Yes, I do. My parents were the immigrants from the Netherlands. They came in the 1950s to Canada, and I was born here in Canada. So all my ancestry, as far as I have done so far, has been all in the Netherlands and no other country.
Wow. That definitely has made you an expert. And I know that you have your Windmill Genealogy Services. Tell us a little bit about that. How long have you been doing professional research?
I've been researching my own family history for just over 10 years now. My business I've been operating for the last 4 years. And my business, I do both Dutch research as well as Ontario research.
So you can really put that expertise into action for other people as well who are researching the same areas.
That's correct.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Dutch ancestry. If you discover that you may have some ancestors from the Netherlands, where do you start?
Well, first of all, it's just like research in any other country in the world. You really need to know the location where your ancestors came from. Without that piece of information, you cannot access the records. You really have to find the location. So that's the major thing. Where I knew where my ancestors were from, where my parents were born, that was no issue for me. So I was able to easily access the records. And each record that you access in the Netherlands almost always brings you back one more generation. Not always, but quite often they do.
Now, I'm guessing in order to discover the village, the location, in the Netherlands where ancestors came from. Here in the U.S. or in Canada, you might be looking first to, say, immigration records or naturalization records that say where a person may have come from?
That is correct. You would have to find that information first before you could go across the ocean to search the Dutch records. However, there are a few databases that you can check that may help you give you some clues. There is a website, Mertens Institute, and they have tracked where a certain surname is mostly located. But that's in the 1950 time period. So, but at least that gives you an idea where a concentration of a surname is. So that may help you find where your ancestors are from as well. There's also the Central Bureau for Genealogy in The Hague, where you can also start, and that is usually the first place you go to search your ancestors, to the Central Bureau for Genealogy, and their website is cbg.nl. And another website that I often use is Genlias. That's Genlias, and that's a huge database. It's indexed birth, marriages, and deaths, and it covers a good portion of the country, but not the whole country.
Fantastic. Now, when you were talking about the Central Bureau for Genealogy, would that be similar to, let's say, when you go to the National Archives in the UK or in the US and they have a whole area devoted to genealogists? Is it that type of a arrangement?
Yes, it is. It is the center you go for genealogy research as well as heraldry research. Right next door to the Central Bureau for Genealogy in The Hague is the National Archives for the country and also the National Library for the Netherlands as well.
See, those are wonderful websites to just get us in the right direction, when we tackle this. What do you find are some of the most common roadblocks for folks who are doing this kind of research in the Netherlands?
Well, first of all, like I mentioned earlier, location is one issue. The other issue would be the name adoptions. In 1811, Napoleon decreed that every person in the Netherlands had to take a surname, whereas prior to that it was patronymic names. So if you don't know what the patronymic was, you may have problems tracing the records prior to 1811. And plus, there's also, you have to use church records prior to 1811. Civil registration began in 1811, so from 1811 to present, it's not too difficult to find information. But it's prior to 1811, that's when the difficulty starts, especially when you got a family that is moving around the country.
For those who haven't had to deal with that, give us a quick overview of what we're referring to here.
What I'm referring to is a son would be born to, say, Jan, and his patronymic would be Jan's son of Jan.
Yes.
And then Jan could have been son of
like another first name, you mean?
Yes. It would be another first name. So usually the first generation with the patronymic, you can find information because there are name adoption registers in the Netherlands. So you can get first clues from that, and hopefully you can follow them backwards. It does take a bit of practice, and there are some guides out there that can teach you how the naming patterns happen.
I imagine it's like getting used to looking at records in a different language. At first it just it's so daunting to think about having to deal with the names alternating or a different style of writing. But I imagine, when you really get into it and you're spending a lot of time in that one particular type of style or naming convention, it becomes a little more natural and you can follow it a little easier as time goes by. Wouldn't you say that's true?
Definitely. The more you work with the records, the more you work with different naming patterns, the easier it becomes and easier to understand.
Well, and finally, I'm curious. Now, you are in Canada and, of course, I'm here in the U.S. What kind of, volume is the word I was thinking of. What are we looking at in terms of Dutch immigrants? What percentages tended to leave? And how many people today do you think have some sort of Dutch ancestry in their background?
Well, there is a lot of people that came to the U.S. In the early 1600s to New Netherlands. So there's a lot of people with Dutch ancestry there. Now, there are records back in the Netherlands from that time period. However, you're dealing with poor handwriting. You're dealing with Old Dutch language and, again, location problem. After World War II, there was a huge immigration to Canada, at least, and to other countries as well, because during the war they lost a lot of housing. So they had immigration programs to encourage people to immigrate to other countries. And mainly Canada was one of them, Australia was another, and also South Africa.
Interesting. It's interesting. There's so many different reasons behind some of the immigration that happened over the centuries. Fascinating stuff. I think that particularly, those of you who are looking for that kind of expertise, the Ontario Genealogical Society Conference that's coming up is the place to go, because Sue is going to be there. She'll be teaching the classes that she mentioned, and I'll have those for you in the show notes for this episode so that you can refer to it. I'll have a link that takes you to the OGS conference website. That conference is going to be happening May 14th through the 16th of 2010 in Toronto, Ontario. And as Sue mentioned, she's also got a great expertise in the Great Lakes region. So if that's something that you're looking for, again, her class would be the one to take. Sue, I am really looking forward to this conference. This is my first time coming to the OGS conference. Have you been there before?
Oh, I've been to several OGS conferences. There's a lot of fun. It's Canada's largest conference of its kind, and it's a lot of fun. It's great to see a bunch of people that I haven't seen all year long, and it's a good time.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I can't wait. I look forward to meeting you in person. Thank you so much for spending time with us today on the podcast.
Thank you, and I look forward to meeting you when you get here.
If you'd like more information or to register for the Ontario Genealogical Society Conference being held May 14th through May 16th of 2010 in Toronto, Ontario, head over to torontofamilyhistory.org/2010. As you know, I am pretty passionate about making sure that we are sharing the family history research that we're doing with the non-genealogist family and friends in our lives in ways that are meaningful to them. And in this GEM segment, I've got a fantastic way for you to do that is very easy and actually a lot of fun. I had a chance recently to interview Janet Havorka. She is the founder and the owner of Generation Maps. You've probably heard of Generation Maps, but you may not realize they have a brand new tool on their website that makes creating family history charts not only easier, but a lot of fun. And in a very creative way, even for the non-creative person. Janet is terrific. She has a great passion for family history and for sharing family history. And this really amazing tool makes it possible for everyone to have no more excuses to get that family history up on the walls where it will pique the interest of those in our family. Here's my conversation with Janet.
Hi, Janet. Thank you so much for joining me here on the podcast.
You're welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I know that you've had a lot of exciting things going on over there at Generation Maps, and I was really fortunate to be able to see your new family chartist while I was there at the Family History Expo in St. George. But I want to do a real quick overview first of what your company, Generation Maps, does for anybody who may not be familiar with the company. Tell us about Generation Maps.
We are the one place that can really pretty much do anything for genealogy charts. We are the printers, and so we can do all sorts of things. We do what we call working charts, which are inexpensive paper, just get it out where you can see it, big, expansive things. So far, our biggest one has been 800 feet by 4 feet tall. With 30,000 names, and those are just to write on the information to kind of for a family union. We also do custom charts where we work back and forth with you online until it's exactly what you're envisioning, and we can do just wonderful, beautiful things that way as well. And then we have this new program called the Family Charts where you can go in and do it yourself as well. We do blank charts. We also do canvas to clays. We print on 7 different papers. And even we'll print a chart that you created yourself, because we have that genealogy mindset where we can use your chart straight out of the genealogy program. We know about the issues of archival things and all sorts of things. And then one of the best things that we do, too, is just a free consultation where you send us in any kind of computer file, and we can send you back options and pricing and different ideas for getting it out where you can see it.
That's great. Now, generationmaps.com is your website, correct?
Yes.
And so people have been coming there, and they've been interacting with you and sending you their data from their database and saying, help me put together a chart. But now you have this family chartist program, which was pretty amazing when I saw it in person. Tell us, how has it kind of elevated what people can do on your website specifically?
Well, the biggest thing is it's made it more instantaneous. You can go in and design something quickly and easily yourself, and then just submit it to us for printing, and we can get it right out to you. What we had been doing in the past was more kind of custom charts, where we go in and create things for you and do whatever design you're thinking, and then work back and forth with you with online previews to make sure it's working. But with Family Chartist, it's instantaneous. You can see it. You can put all these gorgeous graphics in and add pictures and do all sorts of things, and then either download it for free as an 8.5 by 11, or you can purchase better quality, larger electronic file if you needed it like instantly. And didn't have time to wait for overnighting or for the mail. You could purchase a PDF and see if you could find somebody to print it there where you are. But then if you have a day or two for mailing, you can just submit it to us. It's just easy. It just shows up on your doorstep, and it's all done just the way you created it.
Oh, that's wonderful. So people can really get in there and kind of get their hands into it and play with the graphics. And it looked like you had expanded quite a bit the kinds of graphics that are available with the charts.
We have. And we plan on continuing that. We've got all sorts of things coming down the pipeline even more. And the cool thing about this one is that you don't have to juggle the different softwares. You don't have to juggle different file formats. You don't have to find a printer who can print from different file formats, all that kind of thing. It's just right there on the web, and you just put the information in. You can actually put information in from New Family Search or from a GEDCOM, or you can just type it right into the website. If you don't even have a computer file, you can put your grandparents and great-grandparents in just from the website. But you don't have to figure any of that out. It's just easy. It's just right there on the web, and you just go through and pick out what you like, and you're ready to go.
Well, I know that in the past when you and I have talked, and I know I've interviewed you on the show, we're both in agreement, I think, that it's so critical to find an interesting, visual, creative way to share all this wonderful research we've been working so hard on. And I think what I really was impressed with when I saw Family Chartist was that, like you say, it's so much easier. It's very visual. It's very interactive, and you could literally sit down at your computer and start to finish get this project done. Isn't that the hardest part? I mean, you have this idea of getting a chart out, getting something up on your wall, or getting something out for a gift, and getting it done just seems like this monumental task. And you've kind of brought it all simple down to one website and one sit down at your computer and do it.
Yeah. It's really simple and really instantaneous, and just tons of control. It's laid out in really clean. One of our main goals in this was to keep it really easy to use, and so we worked really hard on making sure that the screen was clean and easy to intuit what was next. Like we've talked about before, Lisa, too. Part of the whole reason for generation maps, especially Family Chartist too, is that you can get this out where you can see it, where it can inspire you and inspire the people around you, the people that you live with in your family, or even as gifts. Gifts, by the way, extra copies are all half price on everything we do, so it makes it really great for gifts. But it envelops your family in a sense of, they're part of something bigger than just who they are, and it helps them remember, the great qualities that they have in their ancestry. It helps with healing maybe some of the qualities that maybe aren't as great, but understanding helps healing. And then it's just a very powerful thing. I think we found We hear all the time back from people that it's a very powerful thing to envelop other members of your family in family history and be able to show them that, they're part of a greater whole and that they have identity that's wrapped up in people that have sacrificed for them and done things to put them where they are now. So it's really a passion that we have to be able to help you express your family's history to your family.
Something like a chart or an image like this is really one of the few ways, I think, that we can really quickly and easily share what we've been working hard on with those other people who are just not going to be interested in all the minutia. So
if you ever say to a family member, hey, come to the library with me, they'll be like, yeah, all right. But if you ever say, hey, do you want to see a picture of your great-grandfather? Or do you want to see where you come from Sweden, or how you come, how your ancestry is from here or there? Or do you want to hear a good story? They do. Anybody is interested in their identity and where they come from. It's just a matter of how you present it.
Exactly. And you're showing them more than just a picture. You're showing it within the context of the tree itself and the chart. Well,
exactly.
Okay, so let's say we're excited. We know it's time to finally get this into a visual format. If we just had 15 minutes and we could just sit down at our computer and we'd like to create a nice family tree chart that we can frame, what should we do? How do we get started?
You just go to generationmaps.com and there's a graphic there for family chartists. You click on that and you get a screen that actually first says, do you want to get started, or do you want to look at sample designs, or do you want to look at tutorials? So if you're having trouble getting started, there's a whole page with tons of sample designs, and again, we'll be adding more to that as well. And then there's also some tutorials. We'll be adding webcast video to those tutorials in May. But right now there's plenty of print tutorials there on different ideas to get you started. But then if you're ready to go ahead and click Get Started. And it brings up an internet program, a web-based program, where you can choose a layout. You go in and put in your genealogy information, and then you just click through the tabs at the bottom to add backgrounds or borders or embellishments. You can add a title, and it's all really self-explanatory. And then over on the right, in the bottom, as you choose a paper and the size and things like that, it'll show you exactly how much money it's going to cost, and it even gives you the price for what an extra copy would be, like I said, half price. And then you can save it for later if you want to. You can go in and correct information. Say you're not sure when Grandpa's birthday was, you want to go check on that. You can save it for later and open it later if you want to. Or then when you're ready, you just go ahead and click on order, fill out your information, and we send it right out to you. So it's really easy to just go in and kind of play with. I think you can do one in even less than 15 minutes, maybe 5 or 10. The trouble is you get in there and there's so many fun graphics and things like that. It might take you a little longer just to decide what you like. But it's all right there for you. And so, as we've been doing some of the tutorials, I've had to go in and create a lot of different sample charts, and we've had some other people helping us with that as well. And boy, I can crank those out so easy now. It's really quick and fun, and it's also been really fun to see what other things people come up with, because you guys come up with all sorts of designs that I never would have thought of, which was really fun too. All sorts of great graphics in there to play with.
Yeah, I love that, because you have all those samples in there and we can get a picture of what's possible. Sometimes we've got something in our head and then you see these other examples and you're like, oh, this is nice, So that's terrific.
It is fun to see what other people have done. Yeah.
Exactly. Any special tips for success? Do we need to have certain things in front of us to work with? Do we need to have our file in a digital GEDCOM, or what do we need to have with us when we sit down to put this chart together?
Hopefully you don't need to have too much pre-preparation. We tried to take care of that for you. If you have information in the new Family Search database, and if you have access to that, which we know that there will be access for people who are not members of the LDS Church sometime this year,
yes.
Hopefully soon. I think it's soon. But if you want to take it out of that database, or if you want to just type it in, you can. If you're going to type it in, you need, of course, the information with you. But if you want to start with the information from Family Search, you can still correct it if you see something wrong or things like that. Or if you already have your genealogy in a computer program, all genealogy programs will export up under your file menu. It'll export to a GEDCOM. GEDCOM is a kind of a baseline standard file for genealogy. And so on that, you just need your GEDCOM available and be able to know where it is, and then just upload that from there. And then after that, you really don't need anything else. It takes care of everything else for you. You don't have to juggle, does the printer fit with this kind of software format, all sorts of things like that. We take care of all of that for you.
Fantastic. You know, Jenna, as I listen to you talk about it, I know how hard you have worked on this new program, but I know how long you've been working on generation maps, and I know that genealogy is such a passion for you, and you. I've seen your mom and your dad at the conferences, and your whole family's involved.
Yeah.
People are listening to you, and they're thinking, oh, my gosh, you know, here's this woman who loves genealogy like I do, and she has this business, and she's been working on it. What prompted you to start Generation Maps? How did all this get going for you?
You know, it's funny you bring my parents up, because I am actually the product of what I preach now. And that is, my mom had that wall in our house growing up with the pictures of my ancestors on it. And, you know, I was completely not interested. I got a degree to be a librarian. Actually helped people with censuses and family history, and was so completely not interested. Even though I had some background, but I had a mom who was very, very interested in genealogy and really wanted to instill in her family, like I said, that sense of belonging and of pride in their heritage. You know, eventually, one thing after another, I married into a family that had some really interesting family history, and so we worked on his a little bit, and then I came back to mine and was just fascinated with all of the people that I come from. And it really was because my mom had that up on the wall all those years, you know, and the pictures of those people, which of course we can integrate into family chartists as well. I know who those people are, and I know what they did, and I know what they sacrificed for us, and I want that for my children so much. That's where Generation Maps was born, is that we want to help people instill this next generation who can be so transitory and so lost, you know, in being able to figure out, you know, who they are and what they're about, but be able to instill in them, you're part of a greater whole here. So we're really passionate about that. And it's been fun because my parents have been really supportive, because this is something that they care about so much. So that's fun. They love to come to conferences with us and things like that. And I think that's been a really good thing. And it's, you know, it's ended up linking us even more tightly with them, which is, it kind of all comes around, doesn't it?
It really does. And I know your husband, your kids have been there. You know, when we have our own sweet babies, we start thinking more about this stuff. And gosh, I just became a grandma, and I tell you, it just becomes a burning desire to want to share it. And like you said, having it up on the wall. Isn't that interesting that so many years ago, when you thought you weren't going to be interested, that was still kind of making its way into your subconscious, wasn't it?
Exactly. It was. I knew there were people who had, you know, who had sacrificed for me, even back in the back of my mind. And even though I didn't know much about them for years and years and years, I knew that there were people that I recognized that had done things for me and had brought me to where I was. So
these charts are a wonderful way for all of us to be able to share that and communicate that in our own homes. If you want to check out that family chartist, you know, you can try it out for free. As Janet said, you can even print out an 8.5 by 11 for free on your own printer when you put it together. So you guys are so generous. I know that you love what you're creating there, and I know that you know that when people check that out and print it, they're going to want the bigger version, and that is fantastic. and you make it so, so easy. They can just be delivered right to your door. So check it out. It's generationmaps.com. And Janet Havorka.
And
Sorry, go ahead.
You know what? We have a special offer for people who listen, Lisa Louise Cook, who we love so much. We have a promotional code for 20% off until the end of April, until April 30th. So when you go to order it, there's a little field there that says, you know, enter a promotional code. And when you enter this code in, it'll just take 20% off the price of your order. The number is LLC for Lisa Louise Cook, and then POD for podcast, and then 321. So 246 LLC POD 321. And that'll give you 20% off until the end of April.
Wonderful.
So,
what a wonderful surprise.
Special thing for your listeners.
Ooh, 20% off, you guys. Okay. I have to go take a look now, too. Janet, thank you so much. I will have the code for you guys in the show notes and the link to Generation Maps. And I look forward to seeing you at the next conference, Janet.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. It's so good to talk to you.
You too.
As always.
Well, we've come to the close of another podcast. This has been episode number 85. I want to thank my special guest, Janet Havorka of Generation Maps, and be sure and check out those show notes. I'll have that promotion code for you for the 20% off that she offered all of us through the end of April of 2010. And I also want to thank Susanna de Groot for joining us here on the show and giving us a few starter tips to get going on that Dutch research. If you have any questions or comments, please do email me at genealogygemspodcast@gmail.com. And of course, you can leave a voicemail on the voicemail line 925-272-4021. Thanks so much for listening, friend. I'll talk to you soon.